Friday Salmon Mujage from Edukea Tanzania. Welcome in this session to proceed with our topic, which is Emergence of the USA as the leading capitalist superpower. On the last session, we ended on the factors for the positive relationship between USA and Japan. So let us proceed with another place, which is how USA helped Japan after Second World War. The first way on how USA helped Japan after Second World War was through offering financial aid to Japan. It means that after the Second World War, Japan was affected by the war and the previous disaster, which was Great Economic Depression. So USA decided to give financial aids and other loans to Japan in order to recover various economic activities like in industries, agriculture, and in fishing activities. So Japan, in one way or another, increased development due to the aids which were provided by USA. Another was through opening market for the Japanese industrial goods. It means that after the Second World War, Japan expanded or opened the market for Japanese industrial goods, whereby USA mostly imported goods from Japan and influenced allies like Canada to import Japanese goods or Japanese industrial goods. So that led to the increase in the growth of Japanese economy after the Second World War. Another was through providing security and defense of Japan. It means that after the Second World War, Japan seemed to be weak. So USA decided to give and limit the Japanese army that must defend the domestic security, and the other security like international and boundary security must be handed over on the USA Army. So USA provided the military defense to Japan and led to Japan use a little money in the expense of providing the financial and military expenditure. For example, Japan used almost 1% of GNP, gross national product, in the investment of military defense. So you can see how Japan was helped by USA after the Second World War. Another one through introduction of parliamentary and multi-party politics. It means after the Second World War, USA decided to introduce parliamentary system whereby the candidates must be elected in free and fair election, and introduced the multi-party politics whereby various political parties were introduced, and the competing of taking over the power was emerged in Japan as the result of US and Japanese relation after the Second World War. Another was through allowing Japanese investment in USA. For example, after the Second World War, USA allowed Japan to invest in car industry and ship industry and electronics to be invested in USA. So you can see the investment of external for Japan was increased, and USA influenced the allies like Canada and other Eastern Europe nations to accept the Japanese investment in cars, electronics, and textile industries for the increase and the growth of Japanese economy. So this was the help or assistance of USA to Japan after the Second World War. But another, or the last one but not least, through admitting Japan in the United Nations. It means we have to remember that before the end of Second World War, Japan was not the member of United Nations. The last but not least, which is through admitting Japan in United Nations. We have to remember that before the Second World War, Japan was not the member of United Nations. So after that, or after the end of Second World War, USA influenced the allies and other UN members to allow Japan to be the member of United Nations. So you can see Japan was admitted to be the member of United Nations. These were the ways on how USA helped Japan after the Second World War. So after looking at that, let us jump to the effects of that relation between USA and Japan. The first effect, it led to the signing of Treaty of San Francisco between Japan and USA in September 1951. It means that the among of the effect between Japan and USA relation was the signing of Treaty of San Francisco in September 1951 between Japan and USA. What was the aim of that treaty? The aim of that treaty was to condition USA to withdraw the armies in Japan. As we remember on the last session, I told you that USA decided to place military and armies in Japan for security and defense. But in 1951, USA and Japan conducted the signing of Treaty of San Francisco in that year in order to condition or to suppose USA to withdraw or to remove armies from Japan. And that action of removing USA armies was done in 1954. Another effect was it led to Japanese admission to United Nations. It means that the effect of US and Japanese relation led to the admission of Japan to be the member of United Nations, which was operating in the world, but not all world countries were the member of United Nations. So after the Second World War, Japan became the member of United Nations. Another effect, it led to the expansionism of USA imperialism in Far East. It means that after all the effects of US and Japan or Japanese relation led to the expansionism of US imperialism to the Far East, whereby Japan was used as a board by USA to expand towards the Far East. For example, during the war between North Korea and South Korea, USA used the Japanese Navy ships and other military weapons to attack the North Korea, as USA supported South Korea. Even in 1961 up to 1972, during the Vietnamese War, whereby USA supported West Vietnam and East Vietnam was supported by the USSR. So you can see USA was using Japan as a board to expand herself towards Far East, because Japan is nearby Far East. So you can see this was another effect of US and Japanese relation. Another effect led to the USA domination over Japan. It means that during this relation between USA and Japan, United States of America become the dominant of Japan in almost all economic, political, and social affairs. We see on the military matters, politics, whereby USA introduced the multi-party and parliamentary system, and in economics, whereby Japan was allowed to export goods to USA and the other USA allies. So this was another effect of US and Japanese relation. Another was it led to the economic development in Japan. The US-Japanese relation led to the development of economy in Japan. For example, when Japan was allowed to export and to invest in USA and US allies, so you can see that the economy of Japan was increasing and increasing over day to day. For example, in shipbuilding, the Japanese ships were high demanded in USA and other Eastern Europe nations. Another effect, it led to the development of democracy. As I have told you that during the US-Japanese relation, USA introduced the parliamentary and the democratic politics in Japan. So you can see that the competing for taking over the powers in Japan was increased, so due to the presence of democracy. For example, the parliamentary candidates to compete to get the constituents were due to the democracy and the fair and the free election which were conducted in Japan. So due to that, the relation between USA and Japan led to the democracy to be extended or to develop in Japan. Another or the last effect, it led to the development of market affairs between USA and Japan. As we know that, or as we remember, US and Japanese relation, USA extended or opened the room for Japanese industrial goods to be imported in USA and other European nations as the influence of USA or United States of America. So in one way or another, the market for Japanese industrial goods was developed and extended. That led to the maximization of profit and the growth of Japanese economy. So until there, these were the effects of US and Japanese relation. After looking that, there is another concept which is multinational corporations or multinational companies. These are the international companies with trading interests all over the world. Why I call them these are and not these were? Because these multinational corporations or companies are still operating until now. That's why I use these tenses. It means that these are international companies which operate all over the world and they have the right or they have been granted the right to buy or sell goods and services all over the world. They are big business corporations or companies granted the right of buying and selling goods or services all over the world. For example, oil sister companies including BP, British Petroleum, ESSO, AGIP, and Shell. These are companies which are involving themselves in extraction of oil in various countries, especially in the Far East and the Middle East. But the soft drinks companies like Coca-Cola, which is all over the world and it is operating all over the world. We see in Africa, in Asia, in America and the other continents. As well as financial bodies such as International Monetary Fund and World Bank, as well as IBRD. These are the international financial bodies or branches. So these are world international or financial bodies which operate internationally. So after looking at the definitions and some examples of those multinational corporations or companies, let us see some characteristics of these companies. The first one, they are almost everywhere in the world. It means that these multinational companies are almost in the world, almost everywhere. We see and we know that these companies operate almost the whole world. For example, in Africa, those companies which I have mentioned as the examples, we see them in Africa. And in Asia, on the TV, we see how they operate. But another, they are so much diversified in their activities, such as industries with either heavy or light goods industries, other works in mining or agriculture. It means that they are divided on their works. So there are some companies which are doing their activities in industrial works, in mining, in agriculture, and so and so. For example, in Angola, there are those companies which I have mentioned. There are some which are in Angola, Kenya, America, and South Africa. In South Africa, there are various companies which are involving themselves in mining activities, as well as in Kenya. And not those only countries, in many countries in the world. Another or the third characteristics of those multinational companies, they are not owned by one country, but a number of nations. It means that those multinational companies are not owned by one or single nation, but a large number of nations. Another characteristics of multinational corporations, they are by nature competitive among each other, as in the beginning working just in the USA, but they came to be of international structure. It means that those multinational corporations, they are competitive in nature. So there is many companies which are competing to produce goods and service with high quality and in large quantity. So each company compete from each other on how they will succeed to dominate the market. So this is another characteristic of multinational corporations. But another one, they have for profit maximization in their activities. As we know, these are the multinational companies which are capitalistic in nature, and the main aim of capitalists is to maximize the profit through exploitation, intensive exploitation of the workers, and to ensure that the cost in production is low. So in order to make the super profit. So those companies are for profit maximization in their activities. And the last one, but not least, they are often up to date in science and technology being required by their customers. It means that the production of goods and services, the technology and science which is used is up to date. They change according to the time due to the needs of customers. It means the goods which were produced in 1990, it is differ from the goods which are produced right now or currently, because the science and technology has been changed. So even those companies in their production must change on goods and services according to the needs of the customers or consumers. So until there, these were the characteristics of multinational companies. Let us see the exercise which comprises two questions. The first one is assess the effects of US-Japanese relation, and the second one, it is explaining the features of multinational companies. Until there, this is the end of our lesson. So welcome, and let me meet you with another lesson. Thank you for choosing Edukea Tanzania. Bye.